Thanks for watching the September 2021 edition of Hunt Camp Mail. I received a large amount of mail this month with some pretty great questions, so I think you're going to really enjoy this month's video. My wife and I are over COVID and gaining back more strength every day. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart all of the viewers who gave me support and sent me well wishes throughout that whole ordeal. This summer has been the absolute worst summer of my life, but I'm still keeping a positive attitude and continue to keep my mind occupied with work and outdoor activities. Hard work and the beauty of nature are the best medicine for the soul, in my opinion. And even though I was struggling through some issues, I tried to keep up with the dove opener and provide some tips and a dove hunting video, to you before that season ended. But unfortunately, I just caught the tail end of it because I was sick. The doves were definitely out in good numbers this year, though, and I did pretty good. I also posted a 7mm.8 video, and I finally found something that pissed off the 6.5 Creedmoor guys. Some commentators were just absolutely triggered by that video. One guy kept emailing me constantly and blasting my comment section under that video, insisting that the 6.5 Creedmoor has more velocity and energy at 400 yards than the 7mm.8, which of course isn't anywhere near true. One guy was insisting that you can't get good brass like Lapua for 7mm.8, which also isn't true. And another guy insisted that the 6.5 Creedmoor will stabilize 140 grain bullets, but the 7mm.8 won't. He went as far as calling me retarded for thinking that the 7mm.8 can even stabilize a 140 grain bullet. And if you think that's bad, another guy insisted that he killed over 60 elk at distances over 700 yards with a 6.5 Creedmoor. And since the Creedmoor didn't hit the shelves until about late 2008, that would mean that this guy killed 5 elk per year at least. But I checked out his profile and his channel, and I found out that he's only 20 years old, meaning that he had to have been 8 years old when the Creedmoor even hit the shelves. And there's just so much BS with a lot of those Creedmoor guys. Most of them are probably tactical wannabes. So I owe most of my viewers an apology. Honestly, when my subscribers told me after my last 6.5 Creedmoor video that they don't hate the 6.5 Creedmoor, they just can't stand the people that shoot it. And I didn't believe it. And I kind of argued against that, saying, that's kind of a blanket statement, isn't it? But I have to tell you guys, you are absolutely right. As far as a group of people commenting on a specific cartridge, I'll concede that the Creedmoor guys probably are the least informed, the most unethical, and the most full of BS. The 7mm.8, though, it sure triggers the Creedmoor guys. And I wasn't expecting that. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't hate the 6.5 Creedmoor. I also posted a video on COVID, which in retrospect, I kind of regret posting. I'm constantly deleting the craziest comments I've ever seen. We're talking about batshit crazy stuff like GPS trackers and vaccines and substances in the vaccines that'll turn people into demons. I deleted about 20 posts in the comments section from people claiming that the virus doesn't even exist at all, that it's all in our heads. This crap happens every time I deviate from making hunting and fishing videos and make a video on something else and, bring in views from kind of people outside of our hobby here, but it wouldn't be so bad if I didn't have to constantly moderate my content and comments to stay off of YouTube's demonetization radar. So that's enough chatter. Let's get to this month's mail. And our first question is from Mark in Bend, Oregon. Mark asked, I noticed that you and Becca eat a lot of venison. What is your favorite way to cook it? Well, there's really no one answer to that. And it actually depends on what part of the deer we're cooking. We'll grill backstraps. I love putting backstraps on the grill or the smoker. Put roasts in the crock pot or pressure cooker. Strip out rib meat and make tacos, on the griddle. Cube out neck meat for stews. Use the air fryer. We even use the oven to cook deer meat. And I also really find ground venison very useful. It makes great meatballs, burgers, sloppy joes, and fantastic chili. In fact, I just recently made some venison chili and burgers to enjoy by the pool with a cold beer. And here's a little video of some of that. Well, remember when I told you about not wasting any meat? This is trimmings that I ground up. And I'm going to make me some chili with it. Oh yeah. It got some ghetto burgers, homemade fries and onion rings. Oh yeah. Nice summer meal. And our next question is from Brandon in Pocatello, Idaho. Brandon wrote, I recently was quarantined due to COVID, which is sweeping through the state of Idaho right now. After 5 days of being really sick, I was bored and binge watched your entire channel. Let me tell you, your channel was the only good thing about that whole experience. When I got to your 7-state road trip video, I was just floored when I found out that you're part of the original Idaho Christensen family who settled the Neely American Falls area. My family moved to Pocatello 40 years ago from Washington, and you are correct. This town has grown 10 times bigger in that 40 years. Just wanted to congratulate you on having such a great channel. Well, thank you for the letter, Brandon. Yeah, it seems like every time I drive through the Mountain West, every town seems to get a little bit bigger each time. Every riverbank seems to get packed with more and more ranchettes, and all of that pristine scenery just seems to be getting dotted with houses every time I pass them. People have been migrating in large numbers out of the progressive states and into the free states like yours. But in the end, I'm afraid that this will be a net loss for the state of Idaho. And our next question is from Mr. Cotto from Quebec, Canada. Mr. Cotto wrote, Desert Dog, good afternoon from Canada. With reference to your latest Hump Camp Mail episode, and in reply to the expert's letter, I like you, your beliefs, and what you stand for, just as you are. I wish that content of equal value was available on both outdoor channels I currently pay for and never watch. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, Mr. Cotto, your sentiments seem to be the overwhelming consensus among my subscribers. I'm still trying to work out audio quality and a couple of other things with software, but I decided that I'm not going to change my content or my format. Surprisingly, most of my viewers even don't seem to mind my long videos, as long as the content's good on it. I like to take objective input from viewers like you seriously, so I'm not going to fix what ain't broken. And our next question is from Dimitri from California. Dimitri asked, do you do any handgun hunting? I've been eyeballing a Ruger new model Super Blackhawk in 454 Casull. Primarily, this gun would be used for black bear and wild pig. I have a Model 29 and a Model 57, but they both have 4-inch barrels. I'm thinking something with a longer sight radius with the option of adding a scope or red dot might perhaps be better. What are your thoughts on the 454? Should I stick with the 41 or 44? Well, Dimitri, I used to carry a 454, but not necessarily for hunting, more for protection in areas where Mr. Brownie lurks. Mine also had a 4-inch barrel on it, which wasn't very accurate, had lots of muzzle blast, and the muzzle flip on it was pretty severe. I mean, it was hard to get back on target for a second shot if you needed to take one. But in the past, I used to hunt hogs occasionally with my 44 Magnum Smith & Wesson Model 29 revolver with an 8-inch barrel on it. Yep, a dirty, hairy gun. But in the end, I fell in love with my Desert Eagle in 44 Magnum. You know, the Desert Eagle is super soft shooting, really fast on follow-up shots, and I'm just going to say, it's the most accurate 44 Magnum I've ever owned. I don't think I'd hunt with any other handgun, after blasting several hogs with this Desert Eagle. But honestly, today in California, it's almost impossible to get within handgun or bow distance for pigs on public land anymore like you used to be able to in the past. We don't have high numbers of pigs like they do in states like Texas. And the public land hogs here, especially in the Southern California, are under tremendous pressure. So, in fact, I'll go out and say it, a public land hog is harder to stalk today than a deer is. So I don't do a lot of handgun hunting anymore. And I think I've grown to appreciate the quick kills provided by a good centerfire rifle cartridge used to its maximum potential. But if I ever do get access to some great private land just loaded with pigs, the Deagle might come out to play again. And our next question is from Michael in Southern California. Michael wrote, I just recently discovered your YouTube channel and wanted to say thanks for all the info and tips. I just recently decided to get into hunting. I have a question. Will a Stoeger M3500 12-gauge semi-automatic shotgun be a good all-around hunting shotgun for dove, quail, and duck here in California? Thanks for your time and help. I appreciate it. Well, Michael, let me be the first to congratulate you on wanting to become a hunter and welcoming you into the world of hunting. With that Stoeger M3500, it'll work probably, but if you have a choice, I'd stay away from the 3.5-inch guns. Especially if you want to shoot light dove loads, out of that inertia gun. 3.5-inch ammo is pretty much outdated now with modern advancements in shells. In fact, most geese and turkey hunters have completely ditched the 3.5-inch loads and went to the 3-inch loads. If you need to buy a gun in that budget price range, look at the Stoeger M3000, the Beretta A300 Ultima, or the Franchi Affinity 3. Of those three shotguns, I really like the new A300 Ultima the best for everything from doves to ducks. And our next question is from Kent from Texas. Kent wrote, Desert Dog, I really enjoy your YouTube channel. I'm a big 25-06 fan and would like to go lead-free as I eat what I shoot. In this time of component scarcity, I'd appreciate any advice on powders, primers, and seating depth for the hammer bullets. Well, Kent, I'm working with the hammer bullets right now in a few different calibers. I'm just waiting to shoot some animals with them so I can give them a final critique. The 25 caliber hammer bullets are very easy to get accurate loads out of, but they're also extremely long for weight, so you really need to go with a really light bullet to stabilize these in a 1 in 10 twist barrel. I originally got a box of 110 grain hammer hunters, and those bullets would yaw really bad in gel, so they weren't stabilizing. I had to go down to the 92 grain hammer hunters to get them to stabilize for me. But I'm not sure I want to use a bullet that light, especially for deer. For seating depth, start with about 20 thousandths jump and work your way out from that. And use everything else that you typically use for loading light 25-06 bullets. So far, though, I don't know if I see any real advantages over the Barnes TTSX, and these hammer bullets are way more expensive. But some real data will follow towards the end of this year. And our next question is from Steve in Arkansas. Steve wrote, Mr. Dog, last night I went ahead and loaded 33 Barnes 250 grain TTSX bullets in 5 thousandths increments, down from 50 thousandths off the lands to 105 thousandths off. I noticed that some of the bullets didn't seem to be firmly seated in the cases as others. Some of them will simply turn round and round in the case. Others have longitudinal movement to 10 thousandths that is easily accomplished with my fingers. The bullets reach a positive stop at the limits of their movement in and out. They just won't fall out of the case. Am I doing something wrong? Is there something I could do better to seat the bullets more firmly in place? Well, absolutely. Basically, you're not getting proper neck tension. More specifically, you lack proper neck tension. Before you do anything, measure your lot of bullets that you're using to make sure that the width of the bullets is within specs. And this is easily done with your calipers. With modern, mass-produced bullets, though, this is pretty rare, but I have seen out-of-spec bullets before, so it does happen. Also, make sure that your bullet isn't seated too deeply to where there's no bearing surface beyond the case mouth. I know it's hard to explain that, but this will also make bullets loose. But in my opinion, in all likelihood, you have one of three issues with your die. The first and most common issue is you might have an expander ball that's too fat. You can chuck it in a lathe and sand it down a couple thousandths like many people do, or you can just ditch the expander ball and use an expander mandrel as a separate step like I do. That's what I do. But that expander mandrel lets you control neck tension with a lot of precision. The second possible issue that you might be having is that your brass isn't going all the way up into the die because the deck height of your shell holder is too thick. You can verify this by measuring shoulder bump with one of those Hornady gauges. If your shoulder length is growing rather than being bumped back after you do a full-length resize, that means that the brass isn't going all the way into the die because your shell holder is too thick. The third reason for lack of neck tension is that you might have an out-of-spec die. I've seen several Lee sizing dies that were out of spec, so that also happens occasionally. So the problem you're having is lack of neck tension, and you're going to have to do some simple detective work to find out why it's occurring. Our next question is from Vince from Arizona. Vince asked, I heard you mention Dove tacos a couple of times in your Dove opener video. I found no recipes for this, and you really piqued my curiosity. Can you share some of this famous dove taco recipe? You know, you're not the only person who's inquired about the dove tacos. Several people in the comment section of that video also asked the exact same question. The problem with attempting to make dove tacos, especially like street style dove tacos, is that when you cook dove in a frying pan or a flat top griddle, the problem is that those dove breasts have no fat on them. You know, in making Mexican food in general with meat that has no fat can be kind of tricky. And that brings us to my wife's famous dove tacos, where she slow cooks the deboned breast halves in a crock pot for 4 hours. The first thing you need to do is separate the dove breast halves from the bone. Then you want to clean them up and remove any shot that might be in them or bloodshot meat. A lot of times you get that shot out, just stick a toothpick in the hole and knock it out the other side, or come in from the other side and knock it out the hole. But you want to get all the shot out of it, and you want to cut off and clean out all the bloodshot meat. You don't really want to eat that. Then you want to brine the meat in salt water for a few hours. Then mix your favorite taco seasonings with water. Full disclosure here, my wife uses her own secret blend of seasonings that she won't even divulge to me. Then when everything's in the crock pot, make sure the dove meat is just barely covered by the liquid and slow cook it for 4 hours. It'll be the most tender and flavorful dove you've ever had in your life, trust me. Of course, my wife also makes homemade tortillas and uses our garden fresh vegetables, so that adds to the whole experience in my opinion. Here's a little teaser video of my wife's famous dove tacos. So we have the dove meat. It's been cooking in the crock pot for 4 hours. Oh my God, it smells delicious. Then homemade tortillas. That's right. My wife makes her own tortillas. Really can't wait to dig into those. Nothing like a fresh homemade tortilla. Then some homemade pico de gallo. Fresh vegetables from the garden. Some delicious Spanish rice. And we're ready to eat some tacos over here. Well, as an appetizer, my wife made some fresh shrimp ceviche here. Oh my God, this stuff is delicious. Oh yeah. Oh man, Dove tacos. Becca's specialty right here. Slow cooked for 4 hours. Fresh Spanish rice. Freshly made shrimp ceviche. Top it off with the Corona during the coronavirus pandemic. Man, can't wait to dig into this. And our next question is from Mike in North Carolina. Mike wrote, a gunsmith friend of a friend gave me a heads up Friday morning that an area gun shop had H4350 in stock. I scooted over there and managed to buy 2 jugs of 4350, 8 pounds of H1000, and 3,000 primers. I saw more factory ammo than I'd seen in almost 2 years. Prices are a bit high, but I'm hoping that supply is catching up with demand. And here's a picture of Mike's haul on powders and primer. That's a fantastic score, Mike, especially the primers. I was able to restock on powder pretty good in the last couple of months myself, but I still haven't seen primers in stock. Thanks for the heads up. that reloading supplies are becoming available again. And our next question is from Martin, or Martine. Martin wrote, "Hi, Desert Dog. Hope all is well. I'm currently building up my saltwater arrangement of Okuma Makairas, and also added a big 55 Makaira wide. I was down in Cabo in early August chasing marlin and just returned back from a fishing trip to the other side of Ensenada. I'm booked on the Intrepid on a 5-day trip out of San Diego, and I can't wait to go. I hope you're having a wonderful season in the outdoors. Take care and be safe." And Martin included a picture of his Mac reels. Those are some great reels, Martin. And if you haven't been on the Intrepid before, you're in for a real treat. I did a 7-day trip on the Intrepid back in 2011, 2010, when it was a fairly new boat still. And I had an absolute blast on that trip. So good luck on your trip. And our next question is from Thomas from Atlanta, Georgia. Thomas wrote, "Desert Dog, I watched your ammo video last month and was floored by all that ammunition at the stores you visited in all those western states. It made me leave the house and look for ammo myself. There really isn't a lot on the shelves here in Georgia, but I was amazed to see a huge amount of dangerous game ammunition on the shelves. I saw a good amount of 375 H&H, 416 Rem Mag, and even some 458 lot. But then my jaw dropped when I saw the prices. Thank you for your videos and for your honest assessment of things." Well, thank you for the letter, Thomas. You actually prompted me with this letter to look behind the counter at my local Turner's store near my house. And I have to say, to my surprise, that little gun store had a massive amount of 458 lot, 470 Nitro Express, and 375 H&H in stock. Take a look at this. You're also 100% correct about the prices. That 458 lot and 470 Nitro Express ammo was $130 or more for a box. That's 20 rounds. But like I said in that video that you watched, ammo supply is slowly returning to normal, but the prices are still extreme. Luckily, I have enough reloading supplies to make my own safari ammo and dangerous game ammo, probably for the rest of my life. And our next question is from Carl in Alabama. Carl asks, "I shoot the 6.5 Creedmoor and I reload. In your experience, what's the most lethal 140 grain bullet for both whitetail and hogs?" Well, Carl, I mainly shoot the 127 grain Barnes LRX where I hunt in 6.5 Creedmoor because I have to use lead-free ammo in my state. But I've also used the 140 grain Accubon and the 140 grain Partition on animals, and they worked great. I think the 140 grain Accubon would probably be a better match for the Creedmoor chamber specs because the Accubon is 80 thousandths longer than the Partition. And our next question is from Daniel. Daniel wrote, "Hello, Desert Dog. I enjoy your informative videos. In your review of the Browning X-Bolt in 25-06, thanks for giving a starting load for the 100 grain Barnes bullets. My question is, what is a good starting load for the 80 grain Barnes bullet?" Well, let me tell you, Daniel, you really forced me to dig deep into my collection of little black books of reloading to find data for that bullet. But in your letter, you never stated what powders you currently have, but that really doesn't matter anyways, because according to my records, my barrel only liked the H4895 with that 80 grain bullet. And I'm not going to give you max load data, but if I were you, I'd start at about 45 or 46 grains of H4895 and slowly work up from there. And I mean slowly. That bullet's going to be a barrel burner. But I'm sorry I don't have any data on any other powders for you. And our next question is from Kevin from El Paso, Texas. Kevin wrote, I moved from Ventura, California to San Antonio, Texas 2 years ago to retire. So I still follow California hunting. I like living in Texas, but boy, do I miss all that public land in California. Last year in a hunt camp mail, you stated that hunting got shut down in the mountains of California because of fires. It looks like the fires might be worse this year. Are you going to be able to hunt deer this season? Well, Kevin, our coastal zones, maybe not a lot of B, but in A zone, we're mostly good to go. But we're not so lucky with the interior mountain zones, especially on the western slopes of the Sierras. Unfortunately, I did a lot of work scouting both of my deer tag zones, and those are completely shut down right now. But I do kind of have a backup plan this year to put some venison in my freezer. The southern Sierras are really bad right now with huge fires raging. And before making this video, actually went outside and filmed how bad the smoke and ash is down in the valley where I live. Look at this. Look at the ashes on my truck. That's all ashes right now. It's like it's raining. Yeah. I'm at my business right now, and that's the sun, that little dot up there. And it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it should be a totally clear sunny day today. But we are just getting waves and waves of ash coming over us right now. It is just insane. I don't know if you could see it on the camera, but if you look really close, you can actually see pieces of ash with the naked eye falling. So all of my employees right now, everybody who works outdoors, I'm requiring them to wear N95 masks right now so their lungs don't get full of this crap from all the fires in the Sierras. And our last question this month is from Rick in Modesto, California. Rick wrote, I have been hearing lots of stories of game wardens harassing hunters for no good reason lately. Yesterday, I read an article on Meat Eater's social media on the tricks that game wardens use to bust you. That article has game wardens admitting that they lie a lot to get people to say things. My brother was legally dove hunting on the opener this year. He broke absolutely no laws, but a game warden went through his entire car before moving on. Are you seeing game wardens act in this manner? That's going to outrage a lot of people, but I think it's a fair question. And all I could tell you is that details are usually two-sided, and I can't comment on situations I wasn't involved in personally. But what I can tell you is that game wardens are law enforcement officers, but they're also human beings, and there'll always be a few bad ones mixed in with the majority of good ones. Knowing this, we shouldn't use a blanket statement for all game wardens when you encounter just one or two bad ones. And another common complaint I hear from people is stories of game wardens not knowing their own game and fish laws. And to tell you the truth, I have experienced this one time, but I mean, you're totally throwing human nature in the trash can. I mean, really go to any hospital in the United States, and if all the doctors in that hospital are honest with you, they'll admit there's a shitty doctor or two in that hospital. Go to any huge law firm and ask talk to all the lawyers there candidly, and if they're honest with you, they'll admit there's a few shitty lawyers in that law firm. And it goes for everything. And law enforcement is no different. They go through a lot of rigorous training. They try to pick the best applicants, but nothing's 100%. So you need to understand that. But let's move on to more or less the type of game warden you're talking about. And you will get the rare game warden that wants to play super cop and exert their authority to fill some deep psychological need. And those are the bad ones, but I have to say they're very rare. You also get the rare anti-hunting game warden, especially here in California, but their power is limited if you're following the law. I honestly think that people get mad at game wardens because the game warden's job is to check every hunter and angler that they see. Unlike a highway patrol officer or a cop that needs probable cause to pull you over, game wardens check everybody to make sure that they're hunting and fishing legally. So when some people are following the law like they're supposed to, but they still get their license and firearm checked, they tend to get an instant victim mentality. Even though the game warden is just doing his damn job. I've seen people claim to be harassed just because a warden wanted to see their license and firearm. That thought process really is unfair to the game warden because they're just doing their damn job. On your brother's situation, I'll tell you right now, no matter how innocent you are, never ever consent to a search. Something as innocent as a crushed beer can that you picked up in the woods because you don't like litter could turn ugly with an overbearing officer. Besides, if you are totally 100% innocent and a game warden insists on searching your vehicle, you have to suspect that he might be one of the bad ones desperately looking for something to pin on you. So never consent to a search. They need they need permission from you or probable cause that the court will agree with in order to conduct a legal search on you. When they ask, politely and respectfully, just deny permission. Don't be an asshole, just be respectful and say that you don't consent to a search. But in the big picture, the reality is that game wardens are there for our benefit. And their job is also dangerous. Every day they have to deal with complete idiots swinging around loaded firearms in an unsafe manner. And the pay they get for what they do is really crappy. In my entire lifetime of hunting and fishing, all over the United States and the world, I've never been issued a citation for fishing or hunting. And I'm out there 20 times more than your average hunter or angler. But I follow the law, I hunt in an ethical manner, and I make safety the highest priority. And that's all game wardens and our fellow hunters want and expect. Well, that wraps up another edition of Hunt Camp Mail. I also want to thank Cody, Joshua, Andy, Steve, Peter, David from South Africa, Michael in North Carolina for the inspirational video, and John from Phoenix for his very detailed critique of my channel. Be sure to subscribe if you like my content. You can reach me with any questions or comments at desertdogoutdoors@gmail.com. Well, thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.